AITA for choosing to go to the funeral of my girlfriend over the funeral for my grandmother. Very recently my girlfriend passed away. Her parents decided her funeral will be held in about 3 weeks, and I've been doing my best to help them with the planning. It's been a rough time for everyone. My grandmother died in January of 2020, was cremated, and her funeral ceremony was being postponed due to COVID-19. My grandmother's funeral unfortunately falls on the same weekend as my girlfriend's, and they're literally across the country from each other. I've already had my time to grieve for my grandmother, and with how painful losing my girlfriend has been, I've decided to go to my girlfriend's funeral to say my final goodbyes and to support her parents. After I informed my family of everything that has been happening, it caused a bit of a rift with them, especially with my dad, my late grandmother's son. My dad and his side of the family are treating me as some sort of monster for not choosing the funeral for my grandmother, and are basically ostracizing me for it. I thought I was making the right decision, but I don't know anymore. I don't want to ruin the relationship I have with my dad and his family, and I did love my grandmother, but I love my girlfriend and her family as well and want to be there for her funeral. AITA, edit. I absolutely did not expect the insane amount of support from everyone. It means the world to me to see the love out there, especially for a stranger. Thank you all so much. I'm sorry if I can't get to every comment, but I'll try. Edit 2. To clear up some confusion, my grandmother did pass in January of 2020. My grandfather, her husband, didn't want to have a funeral ceremony unless the whole family could be there, so he opted to cremate her and hold off on the ceremony. The funeral was supposed to go in April of 2020, but COVID restrictions hit in March and the funeral got postponed longer. My grandfather rescheduled the funeral for April of 2021. I've known about this date for a year now. They didn't deliberately plan the funeral the same weekend as the one for my girlfriend. My girlfriend's parents were unaware of my grandmother's funeral, so they didn't do anything malicious with their planning either. And now for some top comments. NTA, just want to jump in here and throw some love and support at you. You're going through such a rough time and not a single person in your life gets to dictate how you grieve. I would recommend going to your girlfriend's funeral if that's what you think is right. You are not choosing one person over the other, and your dad and his family aren't understanding that. They don't see how important your girlfriend is to you, and they are letting their own grief cloud their judgment. What I would recommend doing is asking if there was still a way to participate, like writing something for a cousin or sibling to say on your behalf, or filming yourself saying some words, and asking someone to set up a live stream so you can still watch it is more than enough. I'm also concerned your family is emotionally manipulating you, and this is a time you get to show them that you are able to make your own decisions. You aren't wrong for going to your girlfriend's funeral, not in the slightest, but you may be right that it will form a rift. But if they let a rift form over this, it was bound to happen over something else anyway. Agree with the live stream. My aunt passed in January and a lot of people weren't comfortable attending because of COVID. One of my cousins set up a video camera at the graveside service. Another cousin who'd been vaccinated video called her parents and siblings on her phone and they watched from home. I'm also concerned your family is emotionally manipulating you. I'd prefer to give dad the benefit of the doubt here and just stick with the idea that grief is clouding his judgment. His mom died, and even though it was over a year ago, planning the services is probably opening up the wound for him. When my mom lost her parents, it was a really hard time for her. She still cries about it sometimes, because that can be so hard. Dad might feel a bit like OP is choosing the girlfriend over him as well. He may have expected that his son would be there for him in his time of grief, and may be hurt that OP feels like he needs to make a different choice. I really feel for OP here because this is honestly a pretty terrible situation. However, I do notice that OP is only considering his own grief for his grandmother and his own closure. That, of course, is a very important factor here. However, I don't want to discount the other factor, which is supporting his dad. Hopefully OP can have an honest conversation with his father and they can reach an understanding that allows each of them to mourn the way they need to without ruining their relationship with each other. NTA, if you need closure to go. I think it's horrible that your father and his family are treating you so badly when this too was someone you truly loved. And like you said, you've already come to terms with your grandmother's death versus someone you just lost and feel raw from. You might always regret not following your heart and giving yourself this time to say a final goodbye if you give in to your family's pressure. I am so sorry that you have to choose like that, and even more so, I am truly sorry for your loss. There is a big difference between losing an older person, however much we love them, and losing a younger person. As someone who has lost elderly people I love dearly, and my brother, the pain we feel when someone dies because because they have reached the end of their life, and when someone dies young, is simply not the same. I was very sad to lose the older people, but it didn't compare to the agony and rage I felt at losing my brother. I think perhaps the ARP's relatives are ignoring what he is going through. The OP has done the right thing in attending their girlfriend's funeral. If having the OP at the grandmother's funeral was really important to the family, why did they schedule the funeral on the same day as the ARP's girlfriend's funeral? That decision was very insensitive, especially as they are now bullying the OP over it. People often behave badly when they are grieving, but what this family is doing to the OP is really bad. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on the bell notification for future videos. In the meantime, check out these amazing stories. Peace.